joined now by Stanley Cup champion Ron Hainsey. I was joking with you before that the only time I used to see you, and now that you work for the Players Association, but the only time I used to see you was during lockouts and work stoppages. See, and by the way, if you're a player, it was a lockout. If you worked for the league, it was a work stop.
Very nice. Yeah. Nice way with words there. But there really only is one description for it, or one proper adjective, but we don't have to get into that. But yeah, I mean, that's unfortunately, by the time those were over, I was looking for a long break from talking. I feel like everybody heard enough from me at that.
I remember walking up, I think 6th Avenue somewhere in New York. We were all in a group, you and Shane Doan and a few of the boys. But I just, as a guy who's part of the leadership group at the Players Association, you're here at the NHL Alumni Golf Tournament. The relationship those two groups seem to really be improving. And how important is that to you?
Oh, it's paramount, and it's only going to be a focus of ours to continue to improve. We've had a good opportunity to sit with Glenn in the first couple months since Marty's taken over. We'll continue to do that. I know I saw Glenn today. Marty will have lunch with Glenn again this week, I think in Thursday in Boston. Our alumni they're the heart of what the PA is now. You know what I mean? I mean, they've all done so much. I talked a little earlier about the work Mike Gardner did and Larmer did and Goals and Dreams, and starting in 1999, places around the world they went to get that up and running. Right now we're at $26 million worth of equipment to kids who wouldn't otherwise be able to play. The work they did doesn't get the recognition, and it probably never will, but it's so important. And those guys, all the past players are just responsible for creating what the current players are responsible to continue, right? And so our relationship with them needs to be a focus. It will be. I know it has been, and we've been getting there, but it'll continue to be a main focus as we go forward.
As a player in the league, when did you realize to start to think about life after hockey?
Probably 2009, only because the PA ended up in a weird is not the right word, but the PA was in a little bit of disarray, right? Paul Kelly had been fired
right.
Late at night in Chicago. Until that point, I had paid attention, but not really. Manny Malhotra was our rep in Columbus when I got there in 06, 07, 08, and I kind of knew what was going on because he was a great player rep, but hadn't dove in. And at that point in 2009, we really were in a lost area, and Don Fair came in at just the right time, some of the experience to at least say, okay, let's get everything settled down, and we're going to do A, B, C, and D here, and have a focus on what we were doing. And so it was at that point, now maybe not post-career, but as you start getting into that more, you start to think about things differently in the future. And over the next few years, as you went into bargaining in 2012, your eyes open up to the business of the game and what that is, and that you think as a 20-year-old, you have no idea what you think is reality. And so around that point, over the next 4 or 5 years, it became more of a focus.
Do you feel an obligation or a responsibility to explain it to the active members about what this process is all about?
Yeah, without question. I mean, that's part of the job now. I mean, look, you have to know history, but not let history cloud your judgment and look at it through that prism. Now, it's a tough dance to do. We're in a scenario now.
It's tough not to stay bitter. It really is.
I don't know if that's the case. I think in some cases, you just can't focus. If you had a battle over something, and I guess it'll be close to 19 years ago now, does that affect your decision making going forward? I'm not certain it should. But having said that, history is very important in everything, certainly in this. And for the current players, right, it'll be a long time. It'll be 2012 to 2026 before there'll be a true bargaining session. 2020, Gary and Don did a heck of a job getting us all through what was a terrible situation for everybody around the world. But the focus was on getting everybody through the pandemic, right? And so it was very different than what normally would take place. And they're in their basements talking on the phone and Zooming each other. It just wasn't a normal bargaining. So there's a lot of work to do to get the guys caught up. 14 years is a long time now. The average career is 4.5. So there's a lot of work to do. But it's something where the guys are excited. The guys have been great in the last few months, as far as us going around, Marty meeting all the players, as many as we could before the playoffs really got going. At that point, you're leaving the guys alone to focus on their quest to the cup. But we got plenty of road ahead of us to get everything in line and on our way.
What are your thoughts on Marty? I mean, he's your boss now, but
yeah. So I mean, he's terrible. No, it's been great. It was a heck of a process from beginning to end to get where we ended up. He started in mid-March, so 3.5 months ago here. It's gone fast. We've had a lot to do. For him, he's got a great background for this. He's been a mayor. He worked in the White House, strong union ties, right? Led his union for a while in Boston, the building trades. Having said that, he doesn't know everybody in hockey, right? That's going to take a minute. Meet all the different people, certainly meet all the players. He met a lot of them in person during the election process, met more before the season ended, but that's first and foremost. He wants to know these 750 guys, where they're just going to call him and text them whenever something comes up. That's really our focus at the beginning, all the while getting to know our staff. And, he's quick with it. He's getting his feet under him, and, he's only one guy, so it just takes a minute with all the stuff we got to do.
Before we let you go, I want to talk about, you are a member of the Alumni because you played in this league.
I did.
And as an American, you played in a couple of Canadian cities. 3, actually.
4. Montreal, Winnipeg, Ottawa, Toronto.
I remember.
I'll run the interview.
Okay, that's good. Well, you see,
that's okay.
The collective bargaining. So, how long were you in Montreal?
I got drafted there in 2000. Now, I think I only played.
That's the one I forgot.
It was not a lot of games. I was up and down a lot, and I think I only played in the 30 to 40. I was scratched for a lot. Michelle Therrien liked to scratch me there early on. Not keeping track. Not that he was wrong to do so. No, Claude Julien did too. I was a different person. That I wasn't great with the listening at that stage. And they were right more than I was, certainly. But yeah,
31 games, by the way.
31. There we go. So I was there for the first 4 years of my career through that first lockout, and then Bob sent me off to Columbus on waivers. That coming out of the lockout. But Canadian cities are great, man. I mean, you got to love the passion. You can feel it in the building. It's a great place to play. You were part of that
Winnipeg 2.0 that was
right at the beginning. That was wild. That was amazing.
One guy left from that first year.
Oh yeah,
Scheifele.
He didn't play the first year. You got to get your stuff. He didn't put He got drafted the first year, but he went back to junior. He may have played a game, but he was like 170 pounds. But have somebody look that up. I don't know if he played in 11-12.
That was quite something, though.
I don't know if he played because I think he got drafted the year he was.
He was their first pick. No, he was the first pick.
Right, but he wouldn't.
No.
So it would have been the summer of 11.
Yeah. Summer of 11.
Yeah. So he was there, but he couldn't have played long. But anyway, we'll get
7
somebody
games.
will fact check.
7 games. There
you go. So yeah, he was.
So
there.
One guy left. Mark Scheifele. Wheeler gone. Yeah, Brian Little was. He was there that first year with you. He was.
The first. That was a good team. Everybody forgets the defense was Enstrom, Bufflin.
Yeah.
Me and Bogosian, Johnny Oduya went on to great things as soon as he left there. The crowd got in him a little rough. He had a giveaway in the first game at home. And Mark Stewart. We had a good defense. Forwards, Evander Kane was just coming into his own. Andrew Ladd was at the top of his game. Blake Wheeler was just really finding his prime. There's a lot of great players. We just couldn't put it together early on, unfortunately. But
your time in Toronto? Players.
I really enjoyed my time in Toronto. We came out on the wrong side of it in those 2 series against Boston. You lose in 7 in Boston. The second one was the one that hurt because the first year in 18, they outplayed us, and we were lucky to get to game 7. The second year, which was JT's first year, we outplayed them. Mm-hmm. We had the opportunity to close it out in game 6 at home. We had a 1-0 lead. Marshy flips one off the draw with a minute left in the first. It hits my shin pad, goes in, and the whole game changes. We don't close it out in 6, and now you're going into Boston for game 7. Hey, anything can happen. But we played them. We outplayed them in those first 6 games. We didn't in game 7, unfortunately. But the first 6, we had the opportunity to close it out. We didn't. And that one hurts because they went on to those are two really good teams. There were others too, but they go on to the final against St. Louis. But that team had a chance to do great things, and we just came up a little short. But it was two great teams to be on. I mean, I just enjoyed playing there. I got to play with Mo most of the way, give him the puck and sit there and let him do his thing.
How could you go wrong?
Yeah, and so
and then you followed DJ to Ottawa, right?
Yeah, they decided they were going to pay me a pretty penny to go there with him, so I did. It was going to get a little tight in Toronto, and that was the COVID year. I was probably going to continue on one more, but once 10 months off the skates was that point in time, and then going to be no fans in Canada and everything. I would have been in a casket traveling from Ottawa to Vancouver 4 times. It wouldn't have been pretty. So that's just the way
it must be as a form new ownership, and fans are coming back. It's good for the game.
Great people there. Pierre drafted me in Montreal in 2000. Him and Dr. Mulder came to my house before the draft. Yeah, a long time ago. So we go way back. There's a lot of great people there. DJ, the entire staff, Bob Jones, Cappy, Davis Payne, Ryan Bonus is there. And then the players, right? You got Brady there, who's he's Matthew 2.0. He's a little younger, right? But he's going to get there. He's just a leader, somebody that drags everybody into it. Stutzel looks great. Thomas Shabbat's a hell of a skater. I mean, all those guys, Josh Norris, they got a great group. And they got an opportunity to be special here moving forward.
Thanks for coming on.
Anytime, man.
All right.
See you.
Good seeing you.
Thank you.
Pleasure.